Morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Car's in the shade and it's a little bit cool right now, so I figured I'd shoot this video and then actually do something for myself today. So what I want to discuss is what I feel are the best kind of bolt-ons for your ZL1 and the reasons behind it. So I'll just start with saying that when I bought this car, it was used. It already had headers. It had a 955 lower pulley, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a good shot at. And it had the rotofab. On pump gas, the full LT4 system, basically I was able to tune it and get 630s rear wheel horsepower and around 700 foot-pounds of torque. The problem is I'm dead flat out of fuel, even on 93 octane. So to get any more than that, and those numbers are in 6th gear, not the 7th 1-to-1. But I'm stretching the injector MS about 6.1, and then on the hit it's probably in the 7s, so it's a little bit unsafe, especially in the wintertime. So without having to add meth, the only way really to get around that and in my opinion probably one of the first mods and the best mods are some of these things I'm going to talk about down here. So obviously headers I think is a good addition with exhaust. Definitely the rotofab. I would prefer to dry filter, but wet is fine. You can port your stock intake, throttle body. It'll give you some gains, but anything we can do to remove restriction in front is better. So what I'm looking at here too now and fueling is the LP 12mm big bore high side pump. And this stuff isn't cheap, however, it leads you to being able to do whatever the heck you want later on. These are the FIC 30% injectors. I love these things, man. They are awesome. Run them in all kinds of stuff. And a flex fuel kit. The other thing you can do, if you want to, you got to take your blower apart. We run these ZPE Grip Tech pulleys. Most of the time we're going with the 240 size on the upper with the 955 lower. Seems to do pretty well for us. Now, the reason I'm saying to do, and then the Mighty Mouse Wild Catch Can. I think it's a necessity on any ZL1, especially when you start adding pulleys and boosts and stuff like that, because the GM front main seal sucks, and you'll just end up blowing that thing out. Now, while you're in there doing the 955 lower, that's a good time to replace that seal with the LS3. So the reason I suggest these things first is these cars love E85. They're not big fans of pump gas. Pump gas, from what I'm finding on the forced induction DI stuff, is extremely limited. As soon as you put just a touch of E in it, you can add a ton more timing and make a ton more power. But most of the time with, even a stock car, we're limited to, E30, E40. Sometimes we can get a little bit more out of it, but that's about it. Now, when I talk about adding the LPE pump, the LPE pump is an LT1 based pump. So it runs LT1 base pump pressures, which is about 800 PSI less than the LT4 system. Now the FIC 30% injectors as well, they're going to give you quite a bit of leeway as far as your injector milliseconds. Now, what I suggest for these, you could easily make 700 rear wheel with just a pulley, the cold air, E85, and the proper amount of fuel. So we've done it plenty of times. And that way when you run this, the pump and the injectors with the flex fuel sensor, you can run full E85. We haven't actually got one full E85 yet. But this car will easily do it. So I'm going to start that project today. I'm going to swap out the pump, the injectors. I don't think I have the right connector for the flex fuel at the moment, but we'll see. I doubt I'm going to swap out the pulley today. Not really too concerned about that. I may throw the blower on the bench and open up the snout just a little bit so that it fits the 95mm throttle body. And then I've got a 95 on the shelf that I may just put on there to help out. But if I can run E85 at all times, that's highly beneficial to the system. Plus, we just found out the other day we made 730 wheel head cam stock blower, you know, stock throttle body with the rotofab, and we were at well, on with methanol injection, we were at like 4647 injector milliseconds on pump gas. We then changed out the and we were losing low side pressure. We then changed out to the LP 12 millimeter pump and the FIC injectors. We ran E60 with everything else basically being the same, but with a ported blower and all that, and we made 830 wheel. And the injector milliseconds was still 4647. It was basically identical on E60 as it was on pump gas prior to the pump and injectors. So it's an expensive first investment. However, I say it's one of the most important investments. The other thing it did is that car may not need a low side, or if we do run a low side, it'll be for when we go for 1,000 wheel, because my low side pressure, since I'm running 900 psi less pump pressure, actually maintained 72 psi across the board, where before we were dropping down in the 40s and 50s. So, you know, we're commanding less to feed the pump because the injectors are doing more work and the pump is doing more work. So our low side actually gets a break as well. So like I said, this should be an easy 700 wheel combo. I'll be able to run E85 at all times without any fear of, you know, it running lean or running out of injector milliseconds or any of that stuff. So once I get it all back together and we get it on the dyno, I'll report back with some solid numbers.